Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my official Survivor Series War Games 2025 predictions video. In this video, we're going to go through every single match that has currently been announced for Survivor Series War Games 2025. I'm going to tell you who I think is going to win, why I think they're going to win, and where storylines can go from here as we go towards the end of the year, as we go to the Royal Rumble, and most importantly, WrestleMania. As of the making of this video, there are 4 matches that have been officially announced for this show, and when I look at the current landscape of potential feuds that we could add to this show, I don't see any that could get added to Survivor Series War Games. Add the fact that the War Games matches are usually about 40 to 50 minutes a piece, we already have a bit of a jam-packed show. By the way, I'm going to be there and I'm going to be vlogging the entire experience, so if you see me in the streets of San Diego or at the show, make sure you come over and say hi. And if you see me recording, just know that there's a good chance you're probably going to appear in the video. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, ring the bell for notifications. If you're a wrestling fan, I am incredibly confident that you are going to fall in love with his YouTube channel because we always upload daily wrestling content. And you know, if the daily wrestling content here just simply isn't enough, consider coming over to the Patreon, patreon.com/SantiSap, where you are going to get so much more extra content that we never upload here on YouTube because we use real footage over there and that would just get blocked here due to copyright. So come on over, patreon.com/SantiSap, link in the description, link in the pinned comment. Let's start predicting the show. Let's start things off by talking about the Women's World Championship match between the champion Stephanie Vaquer defending against Nikki Bella. Listen, out of all of the matches on this card, this should be the easiest, most straightforward bell-to-bell, A to B one to have to predict, and that's because there's only one correct choice. In no world should Stephanie Vaquer be losing this match. She is the only correct choice to win this. It just doesn't make sense for Stephanie Vaquer to lose at this point in her championship reign, considering this is her first real championship feud, her first real defense. She's off the back of winning the championship at WrestlePalooza against Io Sky, and then following it up by winning the Women's Crown Jewel Championship against an undefeated dominant champion, Tiffany Stratton. And then you really think that they're gonna follow all of that up with Stephanie Vaquer losing her first championship defense to Nikki freaking Bella? Nah. But here's the thing, it is as crazy and as stupid of a decision that I weirdly could see WWE doing it, but I sincerely hope that there are sane minds somewhere in that WWE writers room that they don't make a ludicrous decision like having Nikki Bella win this championship, because frankly, that would just be a swerve for the sake of a swerve that just simply would make no sense and would deflate the entirety of the show. I have faith that the WWE writing staff knows what they're doing. It's very clear that at least somebody in that room is very high on Stephanie Vaquer, just kind of based on the year that she's had. We haven't seen a year this dominant since like 2002, 2003 Brock Lesnar in terms of championships and accolades. And again, I just don't think that they're going to halt that momentum for the sake of pushing Nikki Bella, who's already a WWE Hall of Famer. I'm not even really worried about this match. For me, what I'm trying to think about is what's next. What's next for both Nikki Bella and what's next for Stephanie Vaquer, because I just don't think that this feud is going to continue past this match. I think that this is a one-off and that they're not going to revisit this again. Especially when I look at the rest of the year, the next major show is John Cena's retirement. They're definitely not going to have a match there. Maybe they continue it in a couple of episodes of Monday Night Raw, but then after that we have the Women's Royal Rumble, and then we're basically in full speed ahead towards WrestleMania. I just don't see this having legs beyond Survivor Series War Games. So here is a maybe potential shock and return that could happen in this match. Funnily enough, it's a return that could happen at multiple matches on this show. It could potentially happen at 3 different matches, and I'm talking about the return of Liv Morgan. The last time that Liv Morgan was in WWE, she was vying for that Women's World Championship, a championship currently being held by Stephanie Vaquer, but on top of that, she was in the middle of a feud with Nikki Bella, so they could easily have a return in this match, post-match, to continue that feud with Nikki Bella, especially if their intention is to bring back Liv Morgan as a big babyface due to her huge boom in popularity. We have to think about what the intention and what the play is here for Liv Morgan upon her return. Is it to be a top heel in the company? Because I feel like she's kind of more needed there. However, if they're planning on telling the story of the implosion of the Judgment Day, then her feuding with the Judgment Day probably puts her in a place to be a strong babyface. Then again, they could run Liv Morgan versus Stephanie Vaquer as a traditional heel versus face, and they could run Liv Morgan versus Nikki Bella as heel versus heel if they really wanted to. But yeah, just kind of keep that in the back of your mind. I could see the potential of Liv Morgan making her presence felt in this match match by returning from her hiatus. But there are bigger things for Stephanie. Liv Morgan is one of those, but when I look at what's next for Stephanie Vaquer, it's really nothing until the Women's War Games match and the dust settles from that match, because all of her potential major matches and feuds are embroiled in that Women's War Games match. We're talking about the likes of Asuka, Kairi, Rhea, Io, Becky, maybe even AJ Lee if you really wanted to. All of those major names are tied up somewhere else, and all of those major names are the ones that Stephanie Vaquer could realistically actually lose the Women's World Championship to, and not Nikki Bella. Absolutely not. I will tell you right now, if Nikki Bella does win this championship while I'm in attendance, I am going to curl up in a ball and fucking cry. So yeah, lock it in. Stephanie Vaquer is going to win this championship, but keep in the back of your mind the potential return of Liv Morgan in this match. Now let's talk about the Intercontinental Championship match between the greatest of all time, the never seen 17, John Cena, defending against Sucio Dirty Dominic Mysterio. I genuinely think that this match could be a 50-50. I think that anyone could make a good argument for Dominic Mysterio winning, and anyone could make an equally strong argument for John Cena winning. So I am going to make the argument that John Cena is going to win this match. Now, a lot of people will tell you that John Cena is going to win this match because they can't have John Cena looking weak going into his retirement match. For me, that's not really a concern. I don't think that there's anything that could make John Cena look weak at this point. I think the man is a ready-made man about to go off in the sunset of his career, and I don't think that taking a loss to an up-and-coming main eventer in Dominic Mysterio at this point, even if it is his second to last match, is going to hurt John Cena at all in the long run, because there is no long run, and it certainly won't damage the legacy of John Cena. However, let me play devil's advocate to that. Although it might not hurt John Cena, I do think it could hurt somebody else that's not even in this match. I think it could hurt whoever wins the Last Time Is Now tournament, which, let's face it, we're all kind of expecting it to be Gunther, because then all of a sudden, whoever wins that tournament, the retiring of John Cena all of a sudden does seem a lot less juicy and a lot less impactful if John Cena is coming off the back of a loss 2 weeks prior. So although I don't think John Cena will be damaged in a loss here, I do think that it could damage the overall prestige of being John Cena's final opponent. I hope that makes sense. I know it's a little bit convoluted. And it seems like WWE is treating that show with a lot of tender love and care. A lot of white glove action is going into that show to make sure that it's a success. And I think that one of the ways that they're making sure that that show is as set up for success as it possibly can be is John Cena going in as the Intercontinental Champion and not damaging how lucrative being John Cena's final opponent ultimately can be. That does beg the question, does that hurt Dominic Mysterio? Does it hurt for Dominic Mysterio to eat a 3-0 series loss to John Cena? I think that you can make the argument that yes, it would. However, I say it won't, because Dominic is so good that I don't think that he will allow it to hurt him. We aren't talking about an Austin Theory who won against Cena and got damaged. We aren't talking about a Solo Sikoa who won against Cena and got damaged. I think that Dominic Mysterio would be just fine eating 3 losses to John Cena. If anything, he could probably catapult himself to stardom off the back of it. The reason I say this, it's because it's very clear that there's already a next step. There's already things in play for Dominic Mysterio to do without the Intercontinental Championship. He is so busy in AAA. On December 20th, not that long after Survivor Series, he has what is going to go down as probably a legendary tag team match, because it's the reunion of Rey Fenix and Penta as the Lucha Bros in AAA. And I wouldn't be surprised if off the back of that, he continues to then feud with Rey Fenix and then with Penta for the AAA Mega Campeonato. So there are a lot of things already in place, a lot of plans moving forward for Dominic Mysterio as he continues to be the flagship brand of AAA. And if WWE is treating Dominic Mysterio, even off the back of losing the Intercontinental Championship to John Cena, as the standard bearer of AAA, it means that they're grooming him and getting him ready to be one of the cornerstones and pillars of the main roster. I firmly believe that, which is why I don't think think that him taking a loss is going to impact the long-term vision that WWE clearly has for Dominic Mysterio. Here's the thing, I wouldn't be upset either way. If John Cena wins or Dominic Mysterio wins, I think everything is going to be dandy. I just don't think that it's doom and gloom for anyone in particular. I just don't think it's that big of a deal for either one of these men to take a loss to one another. That's why I say I think with this one, you can kind of toss a coin and choose what side of the argument you want to be on, because I just don't think that either side of the argument is completely right or completely wrong. I think that just both of these guys are going to be fine. We talked about Liv Morgan potentially returning in Stephanie Vaquette versus Nikki Bella. We could potentially be talking about Liv Morgan returning here in this match. However, if she does return, then to me that signals Dominic Mysterio losing. And there are a lot of names that could potentially get involved in this match, Liv Morgan being one of them, and I'm going to predict that she's not going to get involved in this match. The other ones are the members of the Judgment Day. I do predict that they're going to get involved in this match so that we can set up Rey Mysterio to go out there and be the hero and thwart the Judgment Day once again, and once again being a deadbeat dad to his own son. It's San Diego. Like, I fully am expecting Rey Mysterio to be part of this show, and when I look at head to toe where you can put a Rey Mysterio, it's making a run-in and an appearance in this match, and I don't think it's to help Dominic Mysterio. If that ends up happening, if Rey Mysterio ends up turning heel and helping Dominic Mysterio, that's actually batshit insane, and I would love to see that, but I don't see it. I just feel like Rey Mysterio turning heel to help Dominic Mysterio would be like the equivalent of finding out that like Barney the dinosaur had like $1 billion Ponzi scheme. I just don't see it. So yeah, I'm going to predict that John Cena is going to retain the Intercontinental Championship. There'll be a bunch of shenanigans. Dominic Mysterio will be just fine, busy in AAA, continuing to tell his story of the descent within the Judgment Day, the friendship of El Grande Americano, and the eventual return of Liv Morgan will catapult more stories for Dominic Mysterio on the main roster. And of course, we know that John Cena, after this match, we're looking at him probably defending the Intercontinental Championship in his retirement match, probably against Gunther. When I look at that tournament bracket, brothers, it's gonna be Gunther. Now let's talk about the Women's War Games match between Rhea Ripley, Io Sky, Alexa Bliss, Charlotte Flair, and AJ Lee taking on Nia Jax, Lash Legend, the Kabuki Warriors, Asuka and Kairi Sane, and Becky Lynch. This is a ridiculously stacked Women's War Games match, just between the names like Rhea, Io, Alexa, Charlotte, AJ Lee, Asuka, and Becky Lynch. We are talking about 7 future WWE Hall of Famers in this match, 5 of them being on the babyface side of things, which is why it's so difficult for me to envision a team with that many Hall of Famers, with that stacked of a lineup to lose. I just don't see how the babyfaces lose here. Here's the thing, we've watched previous War Games matches with less stacked babyface teams win against teams that probably shouldn't be beating, like Damage Control. Damage Control taking L's as a dominant heel faction to a pretty dominant group of babyfaces simply because they have the bigger names, the bigger star power, has unfortunately become like a norm. Like, just in terms of the Women's War Games, whoever has the bigger stars just seems to win, and that is very clearly the babyfaces this time around and seemingly every year. The only way I see the heels somehow magically pulling a W in this match is to set up something bigger for Becky Lynch and AJ Lee. Let's not forget that AJ Lee has one victory over Becky Lynch, making her tap out at WrestlePalooza, so it wouldn't be crazy if WWE wants to set up like a big rubber match, a big singles match between Becky Lynch and AJ Lee, to have Becky Lynch be the one to pin, or maybe even submit AJ Lee so that we can set up their singles match somewhere down the line, probably WrestleMania, because then that way they would be 1-1. To me, that is literally the only way, because I just don't see how the Kabuki Warriors or Lash Legend and Nia Jax, like in terms of like what they offer, could offer the star power of this insane women's babyface team. There are some ways to nerf the babyfaces if you really wanted to, right? Like, we could have some potential dissension between Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley. They've not done a great job at telling that story here in the last couple of episodes of Friday Night SmackDown and Monday Night Raw, but it is a storyline that is there, and that there is clearly just not that much trust between Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley. that could boil over during the match, create miscommunication, and open the door for the heels to win. However, we said all of those same things when CM Punk and Roman Reigns teamed up last year, and they still ended up winning. So even babyface miscommunication, it probably isn't going to be enough to nerf this insanely stacked team. The other one, as opposed to just miscommunication, is just a straight up implosion. We could be seeing potentially Alexa Bliss or Charlotte Flair completely turning heel and abandoning their team midway through the match to set up a victory for the heels. I think that that is also very much on the table. And I know that a lot of people are setting it up to be Charlotte Flair. WWE is setting it up like it could be Charlotte Flair. But Alexa Bliss is a wonderful heel too. She could easily play this role and be the one that actually is the one that pulls the rug from under the baby faces and sets it up for the heels to win. But that is probably overthinking this. I'm pretty confident that WWE just sees, ooh, Rhea Ripley win, Rhea Ripley win, give Rhea Ripley all wins. And it's not just Rhea Ripley, it's also an insane cast of other people that WWE loves to see win typically. I have a hard time seeing how this insane group of baby faces is going to be losing this match anytime soon. Like when it comes to what's next, I think that might be a little bit more interesting to try and predict, because I do predict that the baby faces will win. But off the back of this, you could have, Rhea Ripley and Io Sky going after the Women's World Championships to go up against the Kabuki Warriors, the tag titles, I should say. Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair could go after Jade Cargill. And of course, Becky Lynch and AJ Lee will probably feud with one another. That kind of just leaves Nia Jax and Lash Legend with nothing really to do, but they'll probably play, the monster of the week role, being the ones to make the baby faces on SmackDown look good. So yeah, I'm just gonna keep it like that. The women's babyface team is definitely gonna be winning this. And now let's talk about the men's War Games match between CM Punk, Cody Rhodes, the Usos, Jay and Jimmy Uso, and Roman Reigns taking on The Vision, Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed, Logan Paul, Drew McIntyre, and Brock Lesnar. We talked about that women's match being insanely packed, but oh my God, this men's War Games match is somehow even more packed. You've got both world champions on the same team. You got Roman Reigns. You got arguably the most legendary tag team of all time, the Usos, together. You have the future of the company in Braun Breaker. You have probably the most famous person in this match in Logan Paul. Drew McIntyre, a guy everybody loves, and Brock Lesnar, the guy that everyone in WWE seems to just push to the moon at all times. And Bronson Reed is also there as well. But this match is absolutely packed. Here's the thing. There really isn't too much of a difference in terms of how stacked the women's War Games match is for the babyfaces compared to the men's. They're both just like equally stacked with just insane names, top of the industry names that can headline WrestleMania. But here's the thing. The heels have something called a nuclear weapon. A guy named Brock Lesnar that just seems to win matches that he shouldn't be winning, and people don't want to see him win. On top of that, you have The Vision over on the heel side of things. And if WWE wants fans to really take The Vision seriously as the next big bads of the company, not just that, but if you want us to take The Vision seriously without having Seth Rollins, then I think The Vision should be winning here. And we can talk about some other things too, like if you want the fans to take Logan Paul seriously as the next opponent to CM Punk's World Heavyweight Championship, because it looks like that's the path where they're going to be going, probably for like Elimination Chamber or something, then probably Logan Paul should be standing tall here. If you want Drew McIntyre to be taken seriously after all of these L's that he's been taking, then Drew McIntyre should be taking a W here. There is more to benefit by having the heels win here than by having the babyface. I really tried to come up with a compelling reason as to why the babyfaces should win, and I couldn't think of a single one that trumps all of the litany of reasons as to why the heels should be winning here. So even though the men's baby faces are insanely just stacked with names, I think that the only team that should be winning here and the only team that benefits really genuinely from a win is the heels here. Some things to point out as well is that this match has 3 of the 4 men that are in the WrestleMania 42 poker match, which a lot of people are just sort of expecting that some combination of these 4 will be in the main event of WrestleMania night 1 and 2. And it just so happens that 3 of the 4 are on the same team. So I am fully expecting what we didn't get last year, an implosion between CM Punk and Roman Reigns. Last year, They were allies of convenience with no issues with one another. CM Punk was doing a favor for Paul Heyman. But this time around, there's nothing tying them together. There is no Paul Heyman creating peace between these two, and they've already gone to war with each other in the triple threat match at WrestleMania 41. So if there is going to be an implosion, if there is going to be a setup for a big WrestleMania match between guys that are in that poker room, I think it could be CM Punk and Roman Reigns going at odds against one another, costing their team the match and setting up their probable WrestleMania program now that Seth Rollins is out of the picture. Because Seth Rollins could have been the guy to go up against Roman Reigns or to go up against CM Punk. If he's not there, then I think the best available option is CM Punk and Roman Reigns. But yeah, just the simple fact that they have Brock Lesnar is probably the reason why the heels are going to win this, let's be honest. If we want to do something cool here, I think it'd be cool if the heels were to win and Braun Breaker, when they're celebrating, he attacks Brock Lesnar to maybe set up something between them. That'd be pretty badass. Yeah, I'm going to make that prediction. I know it's a bit of a bold one to say that the heels are going to stand tall to end the show, but I think that they're going to. I'm going to take the heels here. I'm going to take the Vision teaming up with Drew McIntyre and Brock Lesnar to walk out as the winners. I know some people have also been throwing out the potential prediction of Seth Rollins returning here, another ruse of the century. Oh, the injury wasn't as bad as originally intended. I don't think that's going to end up being the case. I'm not expecting Seth Rollins here at all. All right, so that's it for the predictions. I got Stephanie Vaca, John Cena, women's babyfaces and women's heels to win here. Now you tell me in the comment section below. Please let me know who you think is going to win these matches. I won't be live streaming the show because I'm going to be at the show. So if you end up being in San Diego or at the show, come say hi if you end up seeing me. But that's it, guys. Take care. Be wonderful people. And before you point it out, this is not a quarter zip. All right. It's a full zip. All right. But before people are like, oh, Santi's wearing a quarter zip. No, regular full zip. All right. That's it. Goodbye. Take care. Get out of here.